entertained? Are you not entertained?
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to our Daredevil Born Again reviews. I almost called this another show that it doesn't exist anymore because I was in the groove. Hope everyone is doing great out there. Welcome back. My name is Jake Berlin. I'm joined by Brian Avellino for our weekly Daredevil Born Again reviews. We were given a special little treat. It is 2 episodes this week, not just one. And after watching both of them, you can understand why they were both of them. But just an all-around glorious week to be a Marvel fan. Obviously, today we got the first wave of Avengers Doomsday cast announcements. We're not going to be discussing that today as much as we want to. Brian and I have been doing it all day long, basically. Probably going to discuss it and be just the main topic of next week's show. I know it's a full week away, but it'll be next week's show. So stay tuned for that next Tuesday. But we have 2 episodes of Daredevil to discuss, with one being extremely important. But Brian, how you doing today, man?
I mean, I'm having fun. I see a lot of negative Nancy's on Twitter, but I'm enjoying it.
The world's just a negative place, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, they did what exactly they probably wanted everyone to do, and that was talk about it. Good or bad, people were talking about it. So,
I mean, look, let's give our just quick thoughts, since I guess everyone would probably want to hear them right now. As much as the announcement was quote unquote dragged out, it made sense how they were doing it because there were almost 30 names announced. And instead of just going to an article and doing it, they did it through a live stream, and if I'm not mistaken, they had over 10 million people watching live.
That's what I was gonna say. They had 10 at one point. Because I was going back and forth between YouTube and Twitter, and and I clocked in one time and it said 10 million. I was like
10 million people. So everyone who's complaining, you were still watching. So Marvel still has their hook in us. We watched Chairs be revealed today, everybody. Chairs. For over 4 hours.
Yeah. It was funny because I woke up to it, but I wasn't awake. So I just kind of put the phone next to me and had the volume up, and I was falling asleep, and then I'd hear the music and wake up, see who it is, fall back asleep for 10 minutes, wake up, who the next one is. Whatever. I mean, something different. It's fun. Who cares? Whatever. I don't. People were losing their minds about it, but
yeah, I think it was just because there was so much hype and buildup about this gigantic announcement happening, and then it just ended up being that.
I only heard about this gigantic announcement literally last night.
No, I had been hearing about it since Monday, I think.
Oh, okay. So I missed it then. So because I was for everyone calling it this, I didn't even hear about this until last night.
There were multiple people saying it was going to be bigger. It was going to be bigger than RDJ being revealed to play Dr. Doom. And obviously it wasn't, but I think a lot of the reveals were pretty big. Obviously there are some specific names that are out there, like the Alan Cummings of the world, or
the X-Men.
I mean, a lot of the X-Men, obviously, but there's a number of other characters that we weren't expecting to be in this that are in this. The U.S. agents and the Namors, right? are 2 that really stand out. Loki coming back.
To me, all of Thunderbolts.
Minus Taskmaster. But I think that one's obvious, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I can't wait for everyone to be actually duped and Taskmaster actually lives.
Oh no, they're gonna Slipknot her.
I think so too. Yeah,
real
I think it's
quick.
too obvious. Yeah.
All
right, let's get to Daredevil because we have 2 episodes to talk about, and obviously we're not going to be spending too much time on the first episode. Even there's a lot of cool things that are happening in the first episode, the majority of the important stuff is happening in the second episode 6. But let's dive into episode 5. We just saw a 1 location episode, which I thought was really cool. because it felt like an old school style TV episode. Didn't feel like a streaming or a film style of episode. We saw Matt Murdock enter a bank for a loan. Seems like the lawyer business might not be going as well as we think it may be going.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a cool little team up / cameo from Kamala Khan's father, who is the assistant bank manager. I saw someone online call them the Power Rangers bank robbers because they all had different mask colors. And we had to see Matt basically do Daredevil things without being Daredevil. And Matt Murdock, which, we have seen in other stories when it came to the Netflix show, but he kind of had to adapt and go back into his Daredevil mode without being exposed. Brian, just overall thoughts. I mean, look, there's a few things we can kind of point out, but just overall thoughts on the episode. And it really, in a way, I'm not ever going to use the word filler because I don't think it's filler. Yeah. But what like a one-off? Like what are your thoughts on a one-off?
I thought it was an interesting choice because every single
I thought it was interesting placed. Like it was a very interesting spot to place that episode.
Yeah. Was it necessary? No. It wasn't bad, but like it was definitely just kind of interesting because like they were just like bang, 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 and then you get the fifth one, and it's like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah, because like we left off with he was obviously training on the rooftop.
Yeah,
and then it was literally the bank.
Yeah, he just literally went to the bank for a loan and got robbed, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
One of my I will say it was funny though. My friend's fiance that was watching it, he texted me this morning and he goes, because it was a decent episode. Kind of don't really get what the point was, but my fiance thought that the giant diamond they were trying to steal was an infinity stone. She was convinced it.
It did look like it.
I know. I was laughing so hard because I was like, I mean, I get it. Like
it went to a jeweler. It got finely cut at the jeweler.
Yeah. But apparently she was convinced it was an infinity stone.
So question about that though, Brian, because obviously this is what the robbers are going after. Do you think that could be refined adamantium?
No, I just think it's one of Kingpin's giant rings. Or gonna be one of.
So do you think Kingpin is funding the robbers?
Probably not. But I just think like I'm pretty sure. Doesn't Kingpin wear a giant ring like that?
At some point, I know that I've seen it in the comics, but I don't know the resemblance or like the importance of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they never really explained like the whole point of the diamond.
Yeah.
And so we never really understood why the robbers were going after it. We never knew whose name was on
they wanted apparently it was worth about the same amount as it was the 1.8 million. So that's what
well, there you go. So that means that one of the gangs that is under Kingpin and Vanessa, which comes back later on in episode 6, they're okay. Well, that makes sense. So I missed that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the guy that is in the tracksuit that it was his. Yeah. It was his goons.
Which makes sense because the accents, obviously.
Yeah. His goons were trying to steal it so that way they could pay the 1.8 and then.
I'm curious who that originally belongs to.
The ring?
Yeah. That's got to be important, right? Like it has to.
I don't know. I don't even think, like, I genuinely don't think, like, I don't want to say anything really mattered in this episode, but, like, the only thing that I really kind of got, maybe was Kamala's dad saying that she's on the West Coast. That was, like, the only thing that I was kind of like,
Yeah.
But, like, everything else, like, even the diamond, I was kind of like, I don't know. And again, I don't want to say fillery, but like it was the way it has been going. It was an interesting choice.
I agree. I think 100% the most important part of this episode was when he said that she's on the West Coast right now. That's going to come back around 100%.
Oh, 100%. There's someone over there that she's probably seeing.
Well, so my thought is, because I don't think that they're ever going to do the quote West Coast Avengers. I think the West Coast Avengers will be the Young Avengers.
Probably. She'll never, I mean, she would, even if they did it, she would never be a West Coast Avenger because her story is being from New Jersey. But I think it was literally just, oh, Big G, that's actually not a bad idea. Because I was trying to.
That's where they're from, is San Francisco.
Yeah, I've been, I don't know. I haven't really put much thought into that episode. And like,
I think a lot of people immediately go to Kate Bishop because we have already seen them together.
She's in New York.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are forgetting that Cassie Lang and Paul Rudd, but Ant-Man, they live in San Francisco.
Yeah,
which in the comic books, West Coast Avengers takes place in San Francisco. So,
yeah, I was like thinking about it. Like, I wasn't really thinking about like who it was there, but that would obviously make sense to have her.
It's going to come back around for sure, and I'm very interested when that comes back around because I have a feeling we'll know a lot more once Vision Quest comes.
Well, we already know that they're starting to like film it and stuff. Like,
no.
Write it. Well, they already started writing on it. It's not called Young Avengers. It's like something of Champions, I think.
Oh, well, that came out. Yeah, that recently came out. That came out like 3 days ago or something.
Well, yeah. Well, and then the writer is Severance's writer.
Mm-hmm.
Is that no? Or it's someone's.
No.
Like it was. I forget whose writer it is. Or one of them. But yeah, I mean, again, you don't need a whole entire episode just for that one line. I mean, the action stuff was great. Like him in the stairwell, stair hall, whatever you want to call it, where he can't make noise and stuff. That was all cool and everything. But yeah, I mean, I definitely like the second one better than the first one.
We'll get into the second one, but just to touch on the Champion series. So nothing has actually been made official yet. This is just kind of out there. But Rachna Frockbaum is reportedly writing the series called Champions, and she worked on Fresh Off the Boat and Shrinking.
I knew it was an S show.
Yeah, it's the Apple TV Plus show Shrinking, which Brett Goldstein also worked on because he's a creator of Ted Lasso. And the rumored cast is currently Kamala Khan, Billy, Kate Bishop, Cassie Lang, America Chavez, and Ironheart are the 6 apparently rumored to be in this. And you would think Tommy would also, depending on what
you're not going to do one without the other.
Yeah, so we'll see. But we'll see what after Vision Quest looks like. But yeah, so that's something to keep an eye on if they're going to head in that direction. But yeah, let's just let's dive into episode 6 because this is obviously the most important of the bunch, and it leaves us off in a very interesting place going forward. Now, Brian, there's 3 major things in this episode that I really want to touch on with this episode. There's the creation of the Anti-Vigilante Task Force, which is what we've been talking about the whole season. Mm-hmm. And then there's the final moment of the counter shots going on between Wilson and Adam and Daredevil and Muse. Those are really there's a bunch that happens in the episode, obviously, right? Like Matt's realization that he has no choice. And Andy touched on it, but how criminals are upping the ante because no one is really around anymore. And Fisk is not allowing vigilantes on the street. And we have Angela Del Toro, who has been taken by Muse, which puts him back into action. I am obsessed with the fuck it moment. Like obsessed with the moment where he just says F it and goes for it.
That made me laugh. I went,
it's so good and it's so perfect for the character of Matt Murdock and everything that we know about him. But let's start with the Anti-Vigilante Task Force, because this is going to be it's not just like an arc. This is like a whole thing that's now going to span out over episodes and seasons and stories, because they are such a major part of so many different things that could be happening. We have the creation. It is Wilson Fisk's task force, essentially. He is bringing together the baddest, the biggest, the kind of criminal police force, the guys with the stains on their record as cops and detectives and everything. And we obviously see the main cop that we've been following this season as one of them. I'm so excited to see what this transitions into, because it's going to cause a lot of issues for obviously Daredevil, but it's going to bring Frank Castle out of retirement. Like, that's the whole point. Like, it's going to bring him back into the fold, and eventually we will be seeing them rep that skull symbol on their chest, which is going to cause a lot of issues.
Oh yeah, I mean, we presumed this type of thing was coming. I'm actually kind of surprised it happened so early. Like, I mean, I know it's kind of like late in the season. I kind of was starting to think that it would lead more, like, be like kind of towards the end, leaning into 2.
Well, we only have 3 episodes.
No, I know. But like, in my mind, I assumed that the rest was going to be spent mostly on finding or getting to Muse and dealing with him, and then maybe like the end being the setup of this, with leading into.
I still think that's going to be the case.
Probably, but I mean, it'll be a little bit interesting seeing how do I say it? Like, I mean, there's got to be more than just these handful of cops to like maintain a big enough storyline in season 2.
I think it's going to grow to something bigger. So I think I probably, I mean, this is just a theory, but so I think they're both going to be going after Muse, because obviously Fisk is trying to keep everything in house. He's trying to keep it as quiet as possible what's going on, even though Muse put 2 girls on display after
from the comics.
It's literally like ripped off the page, which is really cool. But I think they're both going to be going after the same thing, and Daredevil is going to have to go through the Anti-Vigilante Task Force to get to Muse, and the Anti-Vigilante Task Force is going to have to try to capture both Daredevil, Muse, and everybody else, because that's their job. And it's like a 3-way thing that they're going to have to battle it out, fight each other. And then I do think, I don't know if they're going to capture a vigilante, if something like what's going to happen, but I have a feeling that the Anti-Vigilante Task Force is going to quote unquote win at the end of the season and either take credit for Muse, capture Muse, whatever it may be, and then it's going to grow into season 2. But obviously we know as viewers through Daredevil's eyes that they're, and thank you, Andy, for the word, they are the corrupt version of everything. But they are coming to power because they are winning the audiences over by getting a serial killer off the streets.
Yeah, it'll probably be something along the lines of like the end of it is Daredevil fighting them, but then for some reason he has to like flee the scene.
And we've seen it happen, but I can almost see Punisher and Daredevil fighting them, but because they're fighting cops, Daredevil and Punisher are now made out to be criminals.
Probably, because I mean, like,
very Civil War, right?
Yeah, I mean, Muse isn't going to be using like shotguns and stuff that Punisher is going to be using. So like, he can't just like go around and just murk these anti-vigilante guys with shotguns and AKs and whatever you want to say. So it'll be interesting how they do it. I'm trying to think if there's no way they're introducing another vigilante. Well, unless they set up Swordsman. I mean, he's not really that big of a character like that. If he died, people would like be devastated over.
But how I don't remember. I'd have to go back and watch it, and I've actually been wanting to. But how active was he in Hawkeye? Like, was he active as the swordsman, or was he just kind of basically
Not
pulling the
really.
strings?
Yeah. No, he was. I mean, he was kind of doing stuff, but like we actually saw a dude in the park doing swordsman stuff.
Mhm.
So like he's definitely doing stuff to the point where like people are seeing him do it. And Fisk clearly didn't get along with him in the episode. So like, and I mean, he's a big money person too. So Fisk could really, if you wanted to, be like, I took this guy off the street. Look, he had all the money, all the power, was doing whatever he wanted, but I stopped him from doing that type thing. Like I could see if he's gonna, because there's no way they're gonna. I mean, I shouldn't say there's no way because they could, but like they can't introduce at this point they can't introduce a new vigilante for them to like take down.
I can see the show giving us like a montage of them capturing a bunch of smaller vigilantes who are trying to do things around the city, like people who have been acting.
They'd have to be names. Like,
honestly, I mean, they could be random vigilantes that we've never met before, and just rounding up a bunch of people who are trying to step in for people like Daredevil and all these characters who have gone missing and not being as active.
Yeah, I could just absolutely see like Kingpin somehow twisting the swordsman thing of being like this rich, powerful guy that basically taking what he said to him at that meeting and like verbatim spitting it back out, but painting him as the good guy and the swordsman guy as the bad guy.
Yeah.
Being a vigilante and doing all these things. He has the money, he has the power, if you will, about handling business on his own. And so like I could see that. And again, I mean, people like the actor, but swordsman's not like, he's not going to be a name brand character. Well,
I was thinking about doing a video on him just because a lot of people probably don't even remember that he was in Hawkeye. Almost not. Like a, hey, don't forget this guy was actually here and here's who he is.
Yeah,
it did feel like they were setting something up a little bit more between them.
Yeah, because if they didn't, like, what's the point of having him? Just for that. I mean, I guess you could have him just for that part, but like, they don't do things like half-assed. Like they typically, especially this show, they do stuff for a reason.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's the last we're gonna see of him. Plus, they already murked White Tiger, so like we know they're not going to be afraid to like do these things with these characters. They're not going to catch Daredevil, but why not catch someone else?
I'm trying to think of anybody else that they could, that we would know of.
Unless he also, I mean, Fisk could technically, I guess, like try to like throw the mob bosses to the wolves too, but I mean they're not.
Well, I definitely think that's probably coming after the confrontation that he and Luca had in the office. I mean, he basically told Fisk to F off, and we know that Fisk has now re-entered the role of Kingpin, and that's not going to go well for Luca.
Now he's Mayor Kingpin.
Mayor Kingpin, yeah, it's yeah. I mean, he could very well turn against everybody who's working for him and play the favor of the city into his hands and have people root for him because he's winning against crime and all of these things that are happening in the city by twisting it and making it his own, whether it's through the anti-vigilante task force or not. I mean, right now Fisk Fisk has everything in the palm of his hand, really. Like, he could literally do anything he wanted, not just because he's mayor, but he's responsible for the gangs like Luca. He's responsible for the anti-vigilante task force. He's threat. Go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead. Finish. I think I just figured out. I just popped into
No,
my
go
head.
ahead. I want to hear it. Go ahead.
No, it hasn't to do with you. I think I just popped into my head because I've been trying to think what the point of the diamond is, or like what could be the point. It's the top of his cane.
There you go.
Because I've been thinking like in my head like.
Yeah, he doesn't wear a ring. He has a cane.
It's the cane. The cane, and the top of it is the diamond.
He does wear a cane or have a cane.
Yeah.
Let me look.
So I bet you that's what it'll end up being, because they made it a point to show that he's getting fatter.
So I wanted to bring that up. I wasn't sure if you caught that, or I'm sure you did, but yeah. He's, and obviously the suit ripping was a big part in it, but you can just tell physically he's getting bigger. Yeah. And he's kind of going back to the thickness he had previously, but I feel like he's going to get even bigger this time. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that he's even getting stronger. The way that he threw Adam around the room was insane. I thought
he like knocked his head off. Like legit, when he was on the table and he was like that, I thought he literally took his head off.
Seeing him throw, the first punch he threw at Adam, one-handed, Adam went flying like 12 feet. He just went flying across the room. And the way he just taunted him, he threw him the axe. He was like, and I said this in our first episode, I think. I had said, I don't think he's breaking Vanessa's promise. He full on broke Vanessa's promise of not killing him.
Well, he's still alive.
Yeah, but there's no way he's gonna survive. Like,
no.
I mean, I guess he could technically, but
technically he hasn't broken the promise yet.
I feel like he's gonna break the promise.
I'm excited now about the cane. First,
I looked it up. So obviously in the comic books, it's not the same color, but it's like a giant diamond cane.
Yeah,
and it would make sense for that to be the top of his cane. That would make total sense.
I've been thinking, because I was like, I knew he has some bit of jeweler, like flashiness,
and he had one in. He used a cane. Was it an Echo or Hawkeye? He used a cane in Hawkeye, but we never saw the top of it. So this is a photo from Hawkeye with Kate Bishop's mother, and he has the cane.
Oh, yeah.
But we never saw the top of it. So he definitely has one, and maybe he needs it as he gets bigger.
I think so. It's gonna be hard for him to walk because he's gonna be so top
because he already has an extremely hard time walking.
He's gonna be so top heavy, and he's gonna have that diamond.
Nice little Easter egg.
I am a genius. I thought of that all on my own.
That's a good little plug there. All right, let's talk about the final moments of this episode. We finally get Matt back in the suit. His hand is basically forced. Angela Del Toro goes missing. She's held captive by Muse. She gets a bunch of blood drawn by Muse in the process of him going through taking blood from everybody. We learn that he has killed over 60 people at this point, which is crazy. And we have this incredible sequence of Matt versus Muse and Kingpin versus Adam. And it's going back and forth. Like Matt's throwing a punch. Yeah. And Matt's throwing a punch, but it transitions to Fisk throwing the punch. And just a very, very well done sequence. That moment where Daredevil comes running out of the illumination light in the tunnel and just socks Muse across the face was so awesome. Seeing him back in the suit for the first time. Obviously a little rusty, but what I love
that he's swinging.
Yeah, well, I love the swinging on the rooftops. We never got to really see that in the Netflix show, and they are going all out with it, and it's really, really cool. But
which I'm actually surprised people aren't being negative Nancy's about, like, oh, he's not Spider-Man. Yeah. Like, I've been waiting for that, and actually people have been doing the opposite. And I'm like, okay, good. Like, I didn't want to hear
it makes sense.
That's what I'm saying. I did not want to hear like, oh, what, we got Spider-Man now? It's like, I don't know.
So one thing I wanted to touch on with this is, and I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, but Matt was enjoying the shit out of this.
Oh yeah,
Not just like, oh, I'm beating you, but he was
playing with him.
It's the moment where he screams. I loved it.
Yeah.
It is that moment of like exhilaration where you're enjoying something so much you just have to let it out.
Mm-hmm.
And he was fully back into himself. Like he was immersed in the Daredevil persona, getting the energy, just back in the fight. He has never been more himself than he was in that moment. And I love that they throw that moment in there because it makes you realize like how much he missed being Daredevil and how much that is
it's a part of him.
Yeah, like it's so much him, even more so than Matt Murdock is. And yeah, it was great. But at the same time, like as much as he may be rusty at being Daredevil, like he's still very strong. Muse was very much holding his own. Like this dude, and a lot of people don't know this yet because they haven't explained it, but Muse has super strength. He is extremely strong. And
I don't know if they're gonna give him super strength as much as he's like just like super skilled fighter type.
I don't think they'll say it, but I think they're gonna show it to us. Like he's carrying these people around no problem. Like some people would have a hard time carrying some of the people around that he is, and he's just picking things up like no problem. Like he picked up Daredevil at one point in the episode during the fight, and it was like no problem for him. But you're right, like he's built big, and he's also seems like a very tactical fighter.
Yeah, like he reminds me of someone that's like grown up being trained in like some type of martial
arts. He's very good with a knife. Like he grabbed some type of sharp tool or a knife during the fight, and he's very good with it.
Yeah, I think at one point he hit Daredevil, but it like clinked off of him, and there were like sparks or whatever. Yeah, I was about to be furious if they would have just done Muse like that. Like
we're not going to do that.
It had me sweat for a second because I was like, he's handing him. So I was just like, okay, please don't like just one and done this guy, and then like maybe it's trial or something like that. Like I did not want that. So I'm glad he's still out there, like as a threat. Yeah, he's very creepy, and dude doesn't speak really like ever, and so like that's.
Well, I don't think we're gonna see him talk at all. When he has the mask on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know if he needs to.
I mean, he doesn't really need to. He does in the comic. Like he's like he does, but. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. Daredevil's hanging him by his cane, like I was
unreal.
Also, sorry, there was a part of episode 5 that I forgot because I'm thinking about the graphicness of the Muse fight. When Daredevil or Matt Murdock runs in the air and jumps and slams into the guy's leg.
That was hard to watch.
Oh,
that was so hard to watch.
I was just like, no. I was but like, yeah. But then like you have the Muse fight, and he's just beating this guy to the ground. Like, well, it's a decent fight too. Like, but like he's hanging him there, and he's just chilling. He's just like hanging him by the throat.
Did you hear they did the heartbeat thing again too?
Yeah, I mean it was kind of like the same, not the same. Well, I guess it is kind of similar to the like Foggy, where it was like in the sense of like he had to make a choice.
And he made the choice. He let in the hanging moment. He let him go to go save Angela.
Yeah, which is the opposite of what he did with Foggy. So, because there's no buildings he could have thrown Muse off of. Could have pushed him in front of the train, but there was unfortunately not one coming. That dude, Daredevil running down the
That's
train.
What I mentioned earlier with the red light coming through the light.
Oh, sorry.
It was so dope. I was
probably thinking about Kingpin's ring. Or Kane.
Yeah, when he first interacts with Muse.
Yeah, it's almost like those were his eyes kind of a little bit, and then just like Yeah.
It was so sick just seeing him run and then
Yeah.
jump and just sock the living hell out of him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny though, because I am curious, like, if I'm really starting to think that like the Angela girl might continue on, or at least like be someone that's around for a while.
I think so too.
Because like I said last week, like in the comics, she's a CIA kind of like detective or something like that.
I just don't like
and
how young she is.
I mean, who knows? They might, like I said, might do some type of young Avenger or whatever. They already have a bunch of them, but
I would just rather see like a 16, 18-year-old or even like an early 20s. I'm kind of.
I feel like she's 16.
I don't think she's that old.
No,
She doesn't look that old. I'm not like. I'm kind of getting a little tired of a lot of big characters being young because of the Young Avengers thing. Like, there's a lot of them right now, like a lot.
well, I think it's also a little bit of like, if we start them young, we can eventually like go bring them back older.
Yeah, but we don't ever know if that's gonna like pan out. And
I feel like neither do they. So that's why it's better to shoot
it's kind
young
of frustrating. And I get people like Kate Bishop obviously makes sense. That's what she's like in the comics.
Yeah.
Cassie Lang makes sense. Kamala Khan makes sense. Billy and Tommy makes sense. But there's some characters I'm just like I get wanting to introduce them, but you have other options that you don't have to make them young.
Yeah.
And I would just rather see them a little older because it would make more sense in my eyes. Like, you could have made this character 3, 4, 5 years older and it would not have mattered. Like, it would not have made a difference. She still would have gone down the train tunnel, followed her uncle's discoveries, gotten caught by Muse. The whole thing would have still happened and she would have been a little bit older. It just, yeah, I don't know. I don't want them. I really don't want them hammering home so much on the Young Avengers thing because we're getting a lot of these young characters and some of them are going to be sidelined. Look at Isaiah Bradley. Or not Isaiah Bradley. It's
Patriot, whatever.
Yeah, Patriot. I forget I don't think it's Isaiah, but it's his but look at Patriot. We saw him in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we probably won't see him for a long time because of the amount of young characters they have that they've already put their effort into. So that's just my quick thoughts on that.
Eli Bradley.
Eli Bradley. Thank you.
I knew it was short, like a short.
And he's an awesome character, but like, yeah. And
Yeah.
same thing with Hulkling, right? Like Bruce Banner's son or Thor's daughter.
Oh, no, that's Hulkling is a different character.
Not Hulkling, Scar. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. But like, still, like, Thor's
Hulkling's
daughter.
gonna
Like, all
eventually
of these,
come
like,
too.
There's so many young characters that are just not, like, they're not going to work out.
Stop being an ageist.
Huh?
I was joking, and I said stop being an ageist.
Well, I mean, it's kind of annoying. Like,
no, I get it. It's,
like it feels like every Marvel project, there's a young character. Like, there's a young character in all of these projects. Not every single one, obviously, but
not Moon Knight.
A lot of the projects, there's a young character. It's kind of like I don't need any more young characters. Because I feel like we have a core that we can follow that I'm cool with. I don't need 10, 12, 14 of them to be around to intermingle with everyone, you know? Like,
well, I mean, there's no guarantee she is. But I think it's more or less that possibility is being left open.
Yeah. Yes, Andy, I am. So what?
I mean, in a way, I don't mean this disrespectfully or anything, but like the fact that the original guy that played the White Tiger died in real life. So like,
yeah, but do you think?
But I was going to say, like, in the sense of like, I don't want to say that would have been a waste character. But
Do you think
But,
he
like,
died in the show when he was alive, or do you think they made that decision
yes,
after?
I think it was literally just.
I think so too. So
Yeah.
I don't think that.
No, but I'm saying in general, like if they wanted to revisit White Tiger and they kept him alive, like they would have to recast it.
Oh
So, like,
yeah.
the irony of like them killing him off, so that way potentially in the future they can still use White Tiger by giving it on it. And for as horrible as it sounds, like it ironically worked. But
Well, and to be fair, when it comes to White Tiger, arguably the most popular one is Ava, the most recognizable anyway, especially in recent comic book years. But I agree with you. I agree with you.
yeah, so
I don't know where we were, but sorry for the tangent, everybody. I know we were talking about the fight. We were just talking about Angela Del Toro and the fight, and
yeah, just that ending fight of them. Well, not ending fight, the Muse fight. Just I'm glad we're still getting more Muse. Like, I genuinely was like, they really might better not. Did you watch the? I didn't realize what I was watching until I was like halfway through it. The like little teaser for like the second half of the season. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say anything.
I try to stay away from everything.
I didn't realize what it was. I thought it was. I don't even know why I watched it. Like, I was just kind of like sitting there, and I was like, "Wait, I haven't seen some of these things."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this isn't this." Wait. So, I mean, from what I saw, I'm excited.
So we have 3 episodes left, and I've mentioned this before, but when they were doing the press leading up to the season, Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio were asked about their favorite episodes, and they both mentioned episode 8.
8. Okay, so we're about to be on 7.
Yeah, and they obviously opened up or mentioned the finale as well, but they both specifically mentioned 8, and so I'm looking forward to the 3, but 8 is like I'm really
there's a standard there.
Yeah. We know Frank Castle is
interact.
coming. We know Frank is coming. We just don't know when. We don't know if
Yeah.
it's next week. We don't know if it's in the finale.
Probably 8.
Yeah, probably 8. I'm still holding out that we're going to see more Karen Page.
See, now I don't think we are.
I don't know, man. It's just
I really think that she's out for this season. Like,
I wouldn't be against it, but at the same time, I'm kind of like,
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like she's going to be heavily in season 2 from what I've seen.
There's a lot of set photos of her. Yeah.
So as long as they're still using her, like, I'm not going to complain. I think I said at the beginning, I didn't think we'd see her again. The more and more we get further, I really don't.
She doesn't need to be in it. I'm just kind of being selfish and wanting to see her in it.
Oh, no. I mean, that's fair.
Question for you, Brian. I have a question. Do you think this is what I wanted to ask. Do you think Angela Del Toro is going to figure out who Daredevil is? I had this instant reaction of her.
So I
maybe piecing it together.
I was thinking the same thing because of his beard. Like, I was like,
that and the voice. Like, she's talked enough to Matt, and I know a lot of people have talked to Daredevil, but he was like up close and personal with her.
Yeah,
and her mother, I think it was her mother.
Which one? The one that called her?
Yeah,
called him. Yeah,
called Matt, and then all of a sudden Daredevil saves her. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. I have a feeling it'll be kind of like that. Like, she's not going to say it out loud, but it's going to like be implied that she thinks she's figured it out, type thing.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, like, you could say yes, you could say no of her figuring it out, but like, where they kind of leave it ambiguous, where it's like, did she really figure it out, or I don't know. I could just see like her like staring at him, like leaving and being like, wait a minute.
Because I'm not saying that Matt's gonna like pick up like a mentor or anything, but if there is anybody that Matt will mentor, it is someone like her, because he had a connection with Hector and he represented Hector, and
she's kind of a hound dog.
Yeah.
Like, she like there was something he said where she said that like got where it was like she's like, you weren't like this or something, and he was like, well, like it was something like that where it was kind of just like she implied what she's doing is probably something he used to do or whatever like that, and I was just like, so yeah, I don't know if I think they'll leave it without saying it, but I think she'll for the most part be like, I think I got you figured out. Maybe she'll put like the fact that he uses like the cane and then the like baton together or something like that.
All right, Big G's got a question for us. Do you think Matt will be in the black suit at the end of the season?
I mean, we know
this
he has.
season's going to be saved for the red, and then I do think we'll get the black suit next season.
Probably. I mean, dude's got a shed.
I want to see that silver suit so bad.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to see them all. I just want to see him do a runway show with all those suits.
No wonder their law firm isn't profitable because man is buying all these custom suits, probably spending law firm dollars on it.
And his little hideout is so cool, by the way. Like,
yeah, I'm curious to see what's to come in the next 3 episodes because it feels like there's a lot left to wrap up, but also kind of like not too much.
No, because we're already getting a second season, so I think a lot of it's going to lead into season 2, specifically the anti-vigilante task force. I think the only real stuff we need to wrap up is going to be the Muse stuff.
Yeah, I think that will pretty much be the only thing. Like Kingpin's going to stay mayor; he's not going to lose his mayorship.
I think it's going to end with him winning somehow. Like, I think that season's going to end in a very, very dark place. Like something is going to happen, whether he's got control of something or the anti-vigilante task force like becomes a superpower organization, or I don't know. I feel like it's going to be.
I could see him making them like an official, like I don't want to say military branch, but or whatever the department of the thing. And
I just think New York and everything that Matt is trying to do is just going to be in a very bad place by the end of the season. Just my thought.
Yeah.
All right. This one I want to bring up just because, Brian, you have played these games. After watching Born Again, who else besides me would be down if they made a Daredevil video game like the Insomniac Spider-Man? And then Andy adds, I've been replaying Spider-Man 2 since the series started. I don't know how you would make a Daredevil game with him being blind and all, but would be cool. The blind aspect would actually be
Can you imagine just playing the game just with a black screen, just trying to figure it out?
Like,
okay, that's
it would be up. you can make it look like radar.
Yeah. Just but did you see that I forget who, I think it was Insomniac or someone said that they had plans for a Marvel gaming universe, like it was the MGU, and then
I saw that.
I think it was Avengers that kind of just blew it up.
I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to that at some point.
I hope they do.
Because there's in there that new isn't there like the Captain America Black Panther game or something coming out?
Yeah, the end of the year. I cannot wait.
What is that called? Do you know what that's called? Isn't it like
1945?
1943 or something? One of those.
I don't know, but it looks
Andy will answer.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it looks cool. I'll go and I'll just watch the story play it on YouTube. Andy has an interesting comment here.
Also, there was a Punisher video game from when the movie came out that was arguably one of the most violent games ever created. And I played it growing up. It was one of my favorite games. You had to like literally like find ways how to murder people, like push the guy's hand towards like a blade and like just stuff like that. And people are saying like if they make another game, like lean hard into like something like that. There's no way that's happening.
Well, that'd be probably a little much. All right, fun. Final comment before we head out, Brian, because my computer's at 9%.
Okay.
I won't be shocked if it ends with Bullseye being in charge of the task force. Yeah, that makes sense. That 100% makes sense.
That's genius.
Brian, if I'm not mistaken, again, I have not watched the trailer, but because people like to screen grab shit, I did see an image of Bullseye. I imagine that was from the trailer that you watched of him smiling.
Mm-hmm.
Bullseye is coming back in some way. And Andy, I think you're 100% right. I do think he'll probably be put in charge of the anti-vigilante task force.
It'd be a genius move moving forward.
Yeah. To bring him back into the public eye. Maybe not as Bullseye, but unmask him. You know, I don't know. Whatever they end up doing, I mean, that would be crazy. Oh,
yeah.
The power that he would have. Holy shit.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. And I'd be very down to see that. Also, yes, Big G, there is well, I don't know if it's still...
Andy mentioned it too.
Yeah, and there was, but it got heavily leaked, like to the point where it was like almost like, I think it was playable for as like crappy as it was, like unfinished was. And I know that pissed off the developers big time. And I think it slowed that down to the point where they heavily focused more on the Captain America and Black Panther game. But they had announced it because they did a little preview. It was him in a bar.
Yeah,
it was the back of his head with the cowboy hat. Yeah,
I'm trying to find out if there's any.
It would, at earliest, it would come out next year, probably late next year, because they're all steam ahead on Captain America and Black Panther.
It's yet to be confirmed whether or not it's going to be coming out. If the Wolverine is released in 2025, it's more likely to happen sometime between September and November.
There's no way in hell that game comes out this year before.
That was in January of this year, because
I don't care. There's no way there's no way. They've been advertising Captain America for over half a year, and that doesn't come out to the end of this year.
Well, again, this is if. Because that was the timeline that both the Spider-Man games were released, is between that timeline.
I get it's a different developer, but there's no way that Wolverine game is coming out. I will bet money that it at soonest will be early next year.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just reading, you know.
Oh no, I know. I'm just saying out loud. So
we shall see. All right, Brian, any final thoughts before we wrap it up? I think we covered everything.
No. I just realized I have Daredevil on my Daily Bugle. That's him right there. He's fighting Sandman.
Love it.
I don't know how that would go.
Yeah, look, 2 great episodes. We're heading into the back half of the season. We have 3 episodes left. I'm sure they're going to be 3 absolute bangers. So again, here Wednesdays, 5:00 Pacific, covering Daredevil, Brian and I. And then as far as next week, I mentioned it up top, but next week's show for the Whiskey Jedi will be everything Doomsday, talking about the cast, talking about the movie again. I sent Brian a private chat earlier here on StreamYard. I don't know if you read it or not, but I'm leaving the option for him to be on or not. So that'll be up to him. If you want to talk Doomsday, next Tuesday, 6:00 Pacific, right here on the channel.
Since I didn't get to do it the first time because I
that was your fault.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, so as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope everyone is staying safe out there. Have a great rest of your week. For Brian and I, thank you guys for joining us, and we will catch you guys next time. Bye, guys.